Autoroute A1. Oui. Bonjour. Alright, we are looking at France. A1. This will be exciting. Looking forward to this. We are talking Olympic stuff and France stuff, and I lived in Paris 25 years ago, so I know a little bit, but I'm still going to mispronounce everything. The A1 is the busiest autoroute. Autoroute is kind of the French equivalent of interstate highway. They are controlled access highways, generally tolled. The A1 is tolled. Goes from Paris to Lille, right near the border with Belgium. A lot of traffic heading toward Belgium or the Netherlands is going to be following the A1 in some portion or another. All right, let's talk about northbound A1. So here we are at Avenue de la Chapelle in northern Paris. We are right near the Périphérique Road, which encircles Paris and divides Paris from the banlieue, from the suburbs, from the provincial Ile-de-France towns. Right here is where you can first turn on to what will eventually be the A1. And we can see on that sign, we've got Saint-Denis, Charles de Gaulle, and Lille as our control cities for turning on to the A1. We head up north, and this arena is going to be part of the Olympics. This is going to be called the Arena de la Chapelle during the Olympics because they don't use corporate names in the Olympics. Just kind of weird. The IOC, the second most corrupt sports agency in the world, is not wanting to use the corporate money unless maybe they get paid it themselves. This is what it looks like on the Boulevard Périphérique, the ring road around Paris, and we see A1, Lille, Charles de Gaulle Airport, and Saint-Denis, which is a major suburb of Paris, just north of Paris. And we also see Stade de France on there as well, and that will be a major Olympic site too. Once all the roads are merged together, this is what it looks like as the A1 is forming. You're watching Control City Freak. This is the YouTube channel where we talk about highways and places that they're signed to go to. If you dig this kind of content, why not give us a like? And if you really like it, why not subscribe? Yeah, subscribe. Really appreciate getting those subscriber numbers up. All right, here is going the other way on the Périphérique with our exit for the A1. And we are getting these same three control points. We're also getting Pont de la Chapelle because if you go southbound, that is the part of Paris where you end up at. So here we see the A1, and it's going to be separating from the N1. The Ns are also important highways in France. They are national highways. They're maybe a little bit like a US highway. And here we are at exit 2 for Saint-Denis and Stade de France, and we are on A1, and this is also the E15 the entire time, European Highway 15, and we are assigned for Charles de Gaulle Airport and Lille, along with the center of Saint-Denis. These exits are all ordinal, by the way. Here's a look at the A1 in urban Saint-Denis, and we see there's a large tunnel that goes through. They did a cut and cover and covered over the A1, so that's pretty cool. Here's another sign for our upcoming exit 2 for Stade de France. And here is the actual Stade de France, the home of the 1998 World Cup. That's what they built it for. And it will also be the home of the closing ceremonies of this Olympics. We make a big curve. We were heading due north, and now we're making a big curve toward the northeast. And as we do that, we can see the top of Saint-Denis Cathedral peeking out over there. Here's our exit for Saint-Denis City Center. We always have 3 or 4 control cities up on the main line here. So Lille remains our main one, along with Charles de Gaulle, but then we get a couple more added here. We're nearing Charles de Gaulle Airport, and this is the A3. If you were to get on the A3, it would take you back to Paris. And in fact, we are going to be talking about the A3 in this episode on our return journey. So lots going on here. We see the A104 is a ring road. We see that little ring circle here. This is an outer loop of Paris. And the A1 is going to be leading us to the A16 and to Lille and Solis and Charles de Gaulle Airport. And the reason for all these signs on the A104 is it's going to be meeting the A4 road as it rings around. The A4 is another major French highway. I should mention we've got a Patreon going, and we've got a couple different levels that you could join if you're into this channel. If you want to support the channel directly, or if you want to make exit requests, then why not check out the Patreon? You can also make exit requests on any episode by leaving a $5 super thanks in the comments, and I'll sort you out. And we continue north. That is the A3 to the right of us. It is parallel with us for a ways as we head toward de Gaulle Airport. Here is our exit for CDG. Going straight, we've got the A16 signed, the A15 signed, along with Lille, Chantilly, and Solis. And right here we've got a sign telling us if you take the N104, it will be meeting the A16 and the A15. You can also get to Solis that way, although you'd be faster to stay on the A1. And we see A1, Lille, Chantilly, Solis. I looked up how to pronounce it before, but I forget, but that Piaget, that means this is a toll road. Right here we go right under one of the runways at Charles de Gaulle Airport, and we actually go under a few of them. Let's take a look at the overhead here. So we see the A1 going right under these runways here, so that's pretty interesting. And here we're going to be meeting the N104 shortly, and apparently they want the large trucks heading for Solis to exit here. Here's what a service plaza looks like on the A1. Now we're going to be getting to exit 7 for Chantilly coming up, and here's where we actually get to exit 7 for Chantilly. We get our pull through for Solis, Lille, Calais, and Brussels. I visited Chantilly, and here is a picture of it. It's a large chateau in this part of France. It's pretty cool. I went there as an excursion on our study abroad. Here's some footage of me there. Excuse the graininess.
We are here in Chantilly. This is the home of some
truck it.
Duke or another.
At random interchanges, we are getting Lille. Lille remains the primary thing. Even though Brussels was on the overhead signs, Lille is still what they are mostly talking about. Parc Astérix also coming up as well. I'm sure I said that wrong. So Parc Astérix is an interesting place because it is an amusement park with just an exit off of the freeway here. So there's no other way to access it but the A1, and there's nothing at this exit except for the actual amusement park. So here is a look at that amusement park from there. Pretty interesting. And here's our exit for Solis, and we are now signed for Lille, Calais, Brussels, and a place I'm not going to attempt to pronounce. Here's the Cathedral of Solis. I went there as well the same day that I went to Chantilly, and let's take a look at a little old footage of that.
Oh, the bells stopped. Oh, I didn't get the bells on recording. So what
Truck
city are we in?
I have no idea.
Not Vézelay, not Autun, not Beaune, not Dijon, not Paris.
Yeah, I had no idea what the name of the town was while we were there. Right here, we're going to be meeting the N31, although they don't list it on this sign. And we are now signed for Amiens, Lille, Calais, and Brussels. Amiens traffic will be taking the A29 from this point, and we are going to still be signed for Lille, Calais, and Brussels. We're meeting the A2 here, so this is a pretty major split, and Brussels, which we'd had signed for us for a long time, suddenly is the third city instead of the first city here, and we are getting Lille, Calais, and Arras. And here at the A26, Calais traffic will get off, and we will continue straight for Lille and other places. We're meeting the A21, and those other places that were just mentioned are getting off here, so now we get some more control cities along with Lille. And we are getting to the Lille area now. We're meeting the A22. A22 signed for Brussels again, along with Ghent. I really think the A1 probably should be signed for Brussels starting from the A26. A2 is going to take people to Brussels, but once you're far north enough to be on the A26, this becomes the right way to Brussels again up until this A22. And now we are signed for Calais and Dunkirk along with Lille. And here is where the A1 shall end. It ends at the A25 going one way and the N356 going the other way. So the N356 will take you to Ghent, and it's also the way to downtown Lille, and A25 is what will take you over to Dunkirk and southern Lille. Let's turn around and check out the A1 southbound. Coming from the A25, we have this exit for A1 when it's leaving, and we get Paris and Brussels right there, and A22 for Ghent. And on the N356, we meet the A1 and the A25, so we're getting the A1, same control cities, Paris, Brussels, and others, A25 for Calais, Dunkirk, and southern Lille. And just past the A25, we meet the A22 on the outskirts of Lille, or the suburbs of Lille, and that is signed for Brussels, so we no longer get Paris, Brussels here, now we get Paris, Reims. Continuing south, we are going to meet the A26, this time A26 for Calais, as it was before, and we are getting Arras, Amiens, and Paris. At random interchanges, A1 is signed north for Lille, Calais, Brussels, and Péronne, and A1 south is signed just for Paris. And here's a look at the A1 just heading through the French countryside. We jumped ahead a ways. We are meeting Charles de Gaulle Airport shortly, so here's our exit for Charles de Gaulle. It is quite a ways before Charles de Gaulle, and we get the N104 as well. Here's what it looks like getting off that ramp. N104 jumps off to the right away. Charles de Gaulle, you're going to be parallel to the A1 for a ways before it actually loops over to the airport. And here as we head toward the airport, we see that distributor road. So A1 Paris, they have an option to get back on there, and Charles de Gaulle continue toward the right. And now we're going to be meeting the A3, and the A3 will go to the A104. A1 now signed for Saint-Denis and Paris Center. A3 signed for a number of cities that it'll meet on, or rather that the A104 will take you to via other routes, and ultimately for Paris Est, so Eastern Paris. We're going to be taking the A3 here. Right away on the A3 we get a sign for Euro Disneyland, or now known as Disneyland Paris.
Hello? Itchy and Scratchy Land open for business? My children need wine!
Here's where we meet the A104 off of the A3, so the A104 is going to be meeting the A5 for Lyon, amongst other places, and the S41. The A3 is going to continue and meet the A86 and the A10 and head for Paris. Interestingly, a ways down in the A3, you have an option to get back onto the A1. So the A1 we see signed for Saint-Denis, and the A3 signed for a number of other things, including Paris. Wonder what's covered up here. Let's take a look. Well, if we go back a few years, we see what was covered up was Paris Center. So apparently they don't want central Paris traffic to take the A1 anymore if they've already committed to the A3. And here's what it looks like when we cross over the A1 on the A3 once it finally leaves it. And we are going to be meeting the A86, a major ring road of Paris, and that'll take you to the A10. This exit is the N186, which will take you to the A86 in the direction of the A15. And these cities, the A3 is going to lead us to the A86 in the direction of the A4, and these other cities. We're actually briefly concurrent with the A86. The A86 is going to be exiting. The A86 does not go to Bordeaux or Nantes or Lyon, but it does go to other roads that reach those, as the A86 is a ring road of Paris. And we're heading towards central Paris, or the outskirts of the city limits of Paris, the Périphérique. So here is the option to go north on the Périphérique, which will lead you to the A1 and the A15, or south on the Périphérique, which will take you to the A4 and the A6 and the A10 and Orly Airport. Let me show you some footage that I shot when I first landed in Paris, when we were taking the bus into the city from Charles de Gaulle Airport. I happened to shoot this little bit of freeway here, and I've always wondered what it was over these 25 years. I never really looked it up. Boom! Street view. It is the A3 meeting the Périphérique. This is the reason I took the A3 back, because it's literally the same interchange from 25 years ago. That's amazing that I happen to found that. I was very excited about that. So, we're in Paris now, and we're gonna go around and to the right. The A3 has finished, and we're gonna go visit my old neighborhood as long as we're here. So we end up at this roundabout here, and we are going to want to veer toward the second exit of this, and we get to another roundabout, and at this one we're going to want to continue down the right exit. We cruise right past Père Lachaise Cemetery, the current home of Jim Morrison, amongst many other famous people. And we get to Avenue Permetier, so we're gonna hang a right here. And following Avenue Permetier, we end up at Rue Pasteur, which is, in fact, my old street. So let's take a look down old Rue Pasteur. Well, from the looks of things, it hasn't changed a whole lot. I lived maybe the third building to the right there, and it was an awesome little street to live on, for sure. Up toward the end of Rue Pasteur, we got to be walking here, obviously, because we'd be going the wrong direction for traffic, but we'll head to the end of this block and we'll turn left, and we get to Saint-Ambroise Church. This is the Saint-Ambroise neighborhood here, so Saint-Ambroise Church was right down the street, kind of the local cool-looking cathedral. Right next to there, we get to Saint-Ambroise Station. So here is the Saint-Ambroise metro station, so let's get on the metro and get across town because y'all want to see famous stuff. So we end up in the Champ de Mars area and the Eiffel Tower. Of course, I'm gonna have to show the Eiffel Tower in a Paris video. I can't not do that, so there you go, Eiffel Tower. All right, let's take a look at Todd's the way it should be for France Autoroute A1. I'm going to say it should be northbound Charles de Gaulle and Lille, after the airport Brussels and Lille, up until until we get to the A2. Then I would say Calais and Lille until we meet the A26, and Calais traffic will leave there. From that point, Brussels and Lille once again until the A21, and then Lille finally just by itself. Although I'm fine with them putting other cities on there too. Southbound, Brussels and Paris to start, but not for very long. Then Reims, Paris, just like they do. Amiens, Paris, and then Charles de Gaulle Airport and Paris, and finally just Paris. Okay, thank you so much for watching this episode of Control City Freak. I really appreciate it. We will be taking next week off, so enjoy the Paris Olympics. We will be back the week after that, and we'll be talking about St. Louis. 270 and 255 in St. Louis. Requests for those will already be closed by the time I have made this, but we've got other cool stuff coming along too. Some US 12 action. And until next time, my name is Todd, and keep on trucking.